Hello and welcome back to the Author Roundup, a special segment of the Book Connection Show where we meet up and coming indie authors and talk to them about the recently released books. Welcome back. Again, this is Ray Walters. What if your life took 6 wildly different turns and you had to live out each one? What if grief opened the door to unexpected friendships, spiritual surprises, and even a haunted house or two? Our next guest takes us on a roller coaster of healing, humor, and heart with a story that's part novel, part self-help, and part choose your own adventure for the soul. Get ready to meet a talented young musician, a bedridden poet, some eccentric friends, and even a ghost or two as we explore what it means to live with intention, recover from loss, and maybe even talk to the other side. The woman behind this soulful, quirky, and uplifting journey is a former sales executive turned inspirational speaker, quantum healing hypnosis practitioner, and now author of 6 Journeys. Please welcome to the show, Kathleen Faflik. Hi, Kathleen.
Hello, Ray. Hello, everyone.
Congratulations in getting this book published.
Thank you so much. It was a feat, but yeah, it was a real act of love.
Right. And I'm very much glad that you said yes to this interview, that you took some time to actually get on air with us and talk about your book.
Well, thank you for taking the time to speak with me. I'm excited to be here.
All right, Kathleen, I'll go ahead and jump right in. So your book, what first stirred your imagination to create 6 Journeys, and how did the concept of multiple storylines evolve into this unique structure?
That's an interesting question. It really came to me years and years ago in a vision. And I saw that I would write a novel that had multiple beginning, middle, and endings. And when I first saw it, it had 3 beginning, 3 middles, and 3 endings. Well, I couldn't even figure out how many stories that would be, to tell you the truth. I called my nephew, who's really good at math, and I was like, okay, Darren, how many stories would this be? And I think he said the answer was 29, and I just couldn't get my head wrapped around that. And when I started writing it, of course, it corrected itself. It was too complicated, so that's how it ended up being 1 beginning, 2 middles, and 3 endings.
That is very interesting. Um, uh, okay, let's talk about a character in your book, Trish Clark. So, Trish Clark is introduced as a musician, a blogger, and spiritual seeker. Is she inspired by someone in your life, or perhaps by elements of your own journey?
Oh, geez. Trish is who I aim to be. I mean, she has her act together. She's talented. She, spreads all of her wisdom with everyone, and she really seeks the divine. So who wouldn't want to be her?
Okay. And the story begins with the loss of Trisha's father. Um, I see that as a powerful emotional anchor. Why did you choose to open the story on this note of grief?
The story opens with a supernatural encounter. So I wanted readers to really grasp the depth and breadth of this book right upon entering its journey. And I know the death of her father is sad, but you can't overcome, because the book is about overcoming grief and loss, and you can't overcome what you haven't lost.
I agree. The story incorporates spiritual practices like EFT, automatic writing, and ontology. what drew you to sort of weave these elements into the narrative?
Spiritual modalities are a staple in my life, and they have been for a long while. And I just have received so many blessings from all these modalities that I wanted to share that with others. So that's why I weaved all those things within.
Okay, all right. Um, the encounters, the encounters that Trish had, it actually casts it's a cast of vivid characters, including we have the reclusive Mary. So what made you want to explore such contrasting personalities in one book?
Yes, the story of Mary. That's an interesting one. So a long time ago, well, I don't even know, 15 years ago, I'll say, I lived in Tampa, Florida. And when I lived there, Mary was actually an experience that I lived through. So the story of Mary came through my own experience. And I really wanted to spotlight in this book, that you don't have to agree with people. You don't need to see their point of view even, but you do need to find compassion and love. And because of the structure of the book, Mary takes diverse roads, in her crazy life. And she's a little demented soul. And so Trish, as a main character, her plight is really to create herself as a loving being. And so she has to take all these situations with Mary and really find forgiveness and love in order to create herself the way she wants to be.
Let's talk about the atmosphere and inspiration of the story. Um, uh, the setting ranges from the setting of the story ranges from the Atlantic coastline, to the mountains of New Mexico and North Carolina. So, how did these places shape Trisha's journey?
I love this part of the journey, and the settings really help create, a lot of dimension and character within. And some of them are locations that are memories, and some of them are current experiences and locations, but they all weave it together. They weave the whys.
Mm.
And, so Trisha's why does Trish feel this way? Why does Trish think this way? Why does Trish act this way? And why is Trish who she is?
That again, that is very much interesting, Kathleen. And what's more interesting, actually, about this book, and I think our viewers and listeners are they probably have the same question as I have. And I'm talking about the structure and the process behind this. What I'm trying to say is that this book is interesting because you've already said it. You have one beginning, two middles, and three endings. That's a very distinct format. So my question is, what was it like writing a story that branches into multiple outcomes?
Oh boy, it was a struggle to say the least. It really was a struggle. The first part, I only had one beginning, so that was easy. Once I figured out all the characters, then I started my story, so the first section was easy. Then it veered off into two middles. So that wasn't too difficult because they were both coming from the same initial story. But
Mhm.
then when I got into the beginning of the third parts, ooh, that's where it got complicated, because I not only had to make sure that they all matched you know, the first section, but also both of the second sections. So I had to make sure that you could read it all 6 ways and it would, be cohesive. So even through like all my editing, I'd be reading something and I think, oh no, that doesn't make sense. So I'd have to go back and start all over again and read everything again just to make sure that the flow was correct. So then when I got to the ends of the 3 endings, it was like a breeze. It was so fun. I could go off in any direction that I chose to go off, and it was just so much fun. And, all that, plus this was my very first novel. I had never written a novel before. So yes, it was a challenge, but fun.
How long did it take you to finish this?
It took a couple years. Yeah, it took a couple years. And I tell you, it was, yeah, like I said, it was an act of love. It was
Yeah.
a lot of fun writing it, even though at points, yes, it was a struggle.
What, Kathleen, what were the struggles, if you don't mind me asking?
Just the flow. Just, I wrote the first part and then the second parts. And then I had to make sure that everything flowed fluently because I had never written a book like this. I had never even read a book like this. So that part of it was the struggle.
You had somebody look into your book and ask for an opinion. Another follow-up question that I have, what were their feedback of your book?
I've had a lot of different feedback, and most of them love the spiritual side of things.
Hmm.
Um, and this book takes a bit of wit and grit to get through because it can be a challenge to remember what you've just read and the flow. So my recommendation in this book is to read one story first and then put it down and then later read another story. Because if you try to read everything at the same time, it could be a little bit confusing. So that's kind of, what I've heard from people. And I have a chart in my book. So the chart helps you go from, one section to the other without getting lost or knowing where to go next. So that chart does help, gives you page numbers and the sections to read.
See, okay. I've read a book once. It was 100 Years of Solitude. If you're familiar with that book, and one of the most challenging books I've ever read because you have to keep up with the story. There were so many characters, generational, and you're going to follow. Uh, I was like thinking that I'm still following a life of a particular character only to find out that it's already the offspring of the first holder of that name on
Right.
the first generation. But that's what made the book very much interesting. Um, because reading books, it transports you into a different world. If you want a quick escape, that's what I usually do. If I want a quick escape, I pick up a book and read it, and it
Sure.
transports me into a different world. Now, my question for you on this one is, it has 6 different storylines. How did you keep the emotional and spiritual tone consistent across? Because you told me earlier it was a challenge for you.
I think the structure was, the biggest challenge, but the tone actually was the easiest part of it. I mean, basically, it was the entire premise of the book, the spirituality. And it's really, how I strive to be. And I really wanted Trish to encapsulate that high being persona. And Trisha's road is not always easy and it's not always smooth. But the great thing about Trisha's character is she puts in good intentions throughout. And those good intentions really help her find and choose the high vibrational choices that she has, which, really leads her in the right direction and a high path.
I want to ask another question related to the previous question that I just asked. Um, Speaking of the six journeys, the six storylines, there is the message of healing through love. You have forgiveness and presence. How do you hope this message resonates with readers?
Ray, even though this is a fiction, I really want people to get that miracles do happen
Mm,
and that our choices shape us. And when we choose the compassion and the patience and the forgiveness, you're actually generating love. And when you generate that love and give that love, of course, you're getting it in return
mm.
because you get what you give.
All right. We already talked about the challenges um in getting this book done. But I want to also dig a little deeper into what part of it surprised you the most
Sure.
as you wrote the story.
Well, what really surprised me is how much I love fiction. It's so much fun. It's so energetic. It's so creative. I didn't have to worry about, holding any barriers. I could do whatever I wanted to do. And all my career, like you said, I was in sales. And so I wrote a tremendous amount of training. And so this left me free to do what I wanted to do.
Mm,
So that was great. And kind of like my poetry, I love writing poetry. I've always written poetry. But poetry is this long. And here I had an entire book to create. So yeah, it was awesome.
How was writing this book influence your own spiritual or creative path since completing it?
Like I said, it took me 2 years, and
Mm,
now I've had a couple years, and I've had so much more time because I'm retired now to attend conferences and do trainings. And also, like you said, I am a QHHT practitioner, which stands for Quantum Healing Hypnosis Therapy. And I
mm.
read a lot of Dolores Cannon's books, and I really became obsessed with past life regression. And so that was amazing. And I love, love, love that modality. Also, I started following Joe Dispenza.
Mm.
And this last year, I went to a week-long advanced course on meditation. And it really cemented and affirms my commitment with that practice. And I've just been, with my free time, I'm also practicing, trying to teach myself guitar and playing the piano. I did take lessons when I was a kid, but I never, followed through. So it's been awesome. Lots of creative things.
Kathleen, what are your plans? Before I ask you, before we even close, I would want to know what your plans are for 2025. Are we hinting on another book? How can we get a copy of your book if we decide to pick up one?
Well, my book is on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, and you can also find a link on my website, and which is possibilitypartners.com. My plans for 2025 are really just to start my next novel. I haven't started it yet. I would like to do one that doesn't shoot off into so many directions so that it can really focus on the creative part of it, not the structural part of it. And my husband and I are going to Europe this fall. So that's what 2025 holds.
All right, that's a very exciting 2025. Finally, to close, Kathleen, what's one thought or insight you hope stays with readers along, or I'm sorry, readers long after they finish Six Journeys. And if they would want to connect with you, where should they go?
All right, so I'm going to read you my dedication in Six Journeys because this explains it perfectly. To the spiritual soldiers who march for understanding, acceptance, peace, forgiveness, and love, despite the tremendous odds against the norms of society. May you all acknowledge the power of your capacity to unveil what's been hidden since birth and recognize the divine in all. So I really want people just to take that dedication and, just really love one another, love yourself, and see the divine in yourself, because a lot of people don't. And once you see the divine within, you will see the divine in everyone.
Thank you so much, Kathleen, for sharing to us your insight, your thoughts, the process behind writing your book. It truly is a pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you, Ray. And I wanted to come back to Possibility Partners for 1 minute. Possibility Partners is possibility-partners.com. It's my website. You can find all kinds of fun stuff on it. I have some free workbooks. I have Game On, and Game On is a workbook to really help you delve into your dreams and goals and help you lay them all out, which is great. I also have my spirit retreat, and my spirit retreat is basically a weekend agenda to give yourself your own workshop on spirituality. So it walks you through everything. It gives you the exercises, the meditations, the prayers to really help yourself become, your highest level of being. And besides that, I also have a link to my first book, which is My Spirit, She Lifts From Me. And this book is a memoir written in short stories and poetry. And it's all about my personal, mystical, spiritual, crazy experiences. And so this book is a lot of fun as well. So look me up. I'm excited to connect, and I'm excited for you to read my stuff and read Six Journeys of Love and Light.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. We will also make sure to provide all the links at the description box. So guys, if you want to go ahead and visit those websites that Kathleen has mentioned, please feel free to do so. Kathleen, again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ray. It's been awesome.
It is an awesome conversation. I also want to give a big shout out to our awesome viewers and listeners for joining us for this interview. Stay tuned for more inspiring conversations on the Author Roundup. I'm Ray Walters. Join me next time as we explore the world of supported self publishing, one indie author at a time.